Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Dan Blanchard, a best-selling and award-winning author, speaker, and educator, is going to be having a very interesting conversation with Kim Soroy's Pita. Kim is an author, marketing and branding strategist, a transformation advisor, and a philanthropist, among many other talents. But before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness in the planet, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that can benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. Also, when we are live streaming, we have an active chat. It's the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side, or if you're following us from a smartphone, it's going to be under the video. And through there, we invite you to interact with us. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. For that, you can go to our website. On the top, you are going to be finding a link. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link takes you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. You can collaborate with Mindalia in English through Mindalia TV English, but you can also do it in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión and Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao. Visit our different channels and platform. Follow our Facebook pages and Instagram accounts. When you do that, you are not only helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible, but you are also keeping yourself updated with the amazing information that we share there on a daily basis. We are not going to be delaying this any further. I have now the great pleasure of introducing and saying welcome to Mindalia live streaming, Dan and Kim. How are you?
Hey, Mirna, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kim, we're so glad to have you on the show.
I'm excited.
This is going to be a great time. So let me just
Absolutely.
say to the Mindalia audience who doesn't quite know you yet, Kim is a good friend of mine. We grew up together in East Hartford, Connecticut, went to the same church, same high school, and we've got so many things in common. I just read her book, Split Ends, and found out we have even more in common than I thought. But let me just tell you, people out there who don't know her, something about her. Kim started off as like a journalist, and did a great job as a journalist. Got picked up by Congresswoman Kennelly to go to Washington, D.C., right? Did a little politics thing. That's like a dream come true, right? And then after that, she goes back. She co-founds the Pita Communications, multi-million-dollar marketing company. I mean, as if that wasn't enough, right? And then my Kim, she's on a myriad of boards, making big decisions, doing philanthropy stuff. She won the 40 Under 40 award, and at the time, I believe was like the youngest to receive the Alumni Achievement Award from Framingham State College, which is where Kim went to college in Massachusetts. So there's like nothing. It seems like Kim hasn't done. Like everybody else, Kim has landed on some hard times from time to time, but she always seems to make the best of it, including becoming an author, becoming a speaker, and then also being a voice for mental health. So we've got like a little bit of a noise over there, but if I know Kim, she'll take care of it like she takes care of everything else. You know what I'm saying? So Kim, welcome to the Mindalia show. You are a shining example to all of us of overcoming obstacles, overcoming difficulties, heartbreaks, and just becoming somebody who's influential and somebody who's making a difference in the world. I feel like I just scratched the iceberg. Most people would say, I don't know, Kim, there's probably nothing left for you to say, but I know you've got a ton of stuff left to say on explaining to people who you are and what you're doing. So why don't I let you do that for a moment? Jump into a little bit more. I know, expand upon who you are and what you're doing, Kim.
Awesome. And sorry for that noise. It was my cell phone saying there was a flash flood warning, so couldn't control that. So I turned that off. But yeah, Dan,
hold on a second, Kim. Do you got to get out in a boat and save people's lives from the flash flood?
I don't think so. I'm staying away from the water.
Okay, all right.
That's something I cannot do. But yeah, it's funny as you were kind of running down all those accomplishments. My executive coach has said to me, I'm an overachieving overachiever. So say that 10 times fast. Overachieving overachiever. So,
And
and
that's a new
so
one.
it's something that I
Is
was
that like
born into, I think.
overachiever on steroids?
Exactly. So I was born into it, kind of took an example from my mom, who always worked really hard, was really very, very philanthropic, was always very involved with nonprofit organizations. And I kind of took my cue from her and really have put myself out there, and particularly in the world of mental health, as we'll dig deeper into. But, this has been a 9-year journey writing this book, Split Ends, A Tale of Two Crazy Sisters. And as in addition to writing the book, I'm running my marketing and branding consulting business. I had founded an agency. It was about a $4.5 million agency, ran that for 17 years. And then left that and started my own marketing consulting business, and really have redefined my life and created the life I always imagined. So it's a pretty cool place to be right now.
I'm just so in awe, Cam, of like I said, I just read your book. Can't wait to talk to you about it, in more depth. But I'm just so in awe of like the journey you took, very similar to like the journey I took in so many ways, and so many other millions of people out there. We both had siblings. I also had a father as well that was struggling with mental health issues. And I remember like I just would try to like avoid my father. I would try to avoid my brother because it always seemed like there was going to be trouble involved somewhere. And like I didn't understand, what my father was going through, what my brother was going through, hoping that it would never happen to me. If I could stay clear of it, stay out of the way, the kids at school would still think I was maybe the cool one, in the family or whatever. But I mean, just so many of us suffer and struggle through this, and we don't understand mental health. And yeah, you were saying in your book, like 1 out of every 5 of us like struggle with mental health. So 1 out of 5, do the math. Somebody in your family, some of your friends are going to have mental health issues, and we don't know what to do. So you said, I loved how you were very honest in your book. You said that in the beginning, for a long time, like there was times like you were trying to avoid your sister because you just didn't want the headache. And I know I did the same thing with my brother. I avoided my brother because I just didn't want the headache. And now my brother's gone, your sister's gone, and it opens your eyes to a whole nother world. Can you maybe share a couple minutes on that? What that opened for you?
Yeah, it's funny. After I lost my sister, and it's not funny, but I realized how truly short life is, and how we really need to embrace the life that we have been given. And so when she was diagnosed in her 20s, so that was about 30 years ago, I was petrified of mental health. I didn't know what it was. We didn't talk about it. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was like, what is this? Am I going to get it? Am I going to be like her? Am I going to feel this way? So it was just that inner like feeling of just the unknown. And as we started to learn about it and explore and discover, all the things that happen to us, that happen to our brains. I always say mental health is as important as physical health, because if our brains aren't intact and we don't take care of our brains and our minds, we can't take care of our bodies. So for so long, people would say, people wanted to call in sick from work. They're not going to call and say, well, I'm depressed. They'll call in and say, I have a stomach ache, or I have a cold, or because it just hasn't been accepted. And because of the stigma, people don't want to talk about the fact that they may be having issues with their mind or their brain, but it's all part of us. And so, we've got to identify, we've got to learn about it. We've got to grow with it, because if we don't embrace it, everybody's going to keep shoving it under the rug, and we're not going to help deal with recovery that really needs to happen. And that's one of the things is recovery is possible. If you have the right medication, if you're going for the right treatment. It doesn't necessarily have to be medication. There's alternative ways of healing, but it's finding those ways that are going to heal your body and heal you, because everybody's different.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'd say, Kim, because of you and people like you, Like my wife informed me today that she had just read somewhere, I guess on the internet, that some school system, I don't know if it was Georgia maybe, but some school system is going to start letting kids take mental health days
I
instead of
saw
just,
that.
I thought was groundbreaking. I was like,
Yes.
holy cow. And I mean, for me, I don't know if this, maybe I'm stretching here to make the connection, but for me, like I teach troubled kids, all the time. Troubled kids, socially, emotionally disturbed kids, maladjusted kids, whatever you want to call it. And I always tell people, I say, hey, listen, this kid may be chronologically 16. He may be taller than us. But if you look at his emotional age, his emotional age is like 6, 7. And would you get
Yeah.
mad at a 6 or 7-year-old for doing that? And the thing is, you'd probably say, well, no, but he should know better. And it was like, okay, listen, you're right.
Right.
The 16-year-old should know better, but he's chronologically 16. He's like mentally, emotionally 6 or 7. So that kind of, so he's not. He's not going to know better. So I deal with this every day in the school system of, and I may be making a little stretch here, but I think there is a comparison. And then when like you're climbing the corporate ladder or life, you're succeeding 40 under 40 and all that stuff, and you're running a business that's shipping millions of dollars back and forth. I'm sure there were times in your life where you looked at your sister who was like, herself a wonderful, successful young lady, and then she just kind of like stopped being this wonderful, successful young lady. And I'm sure there must have been times in your life when you looked at the softball champion, which was your sister, and said, come on, just get it together, get over it and get it
Right.
together. But that's not really an option, is it, Kim?
Yeah, it's so much. So many people want to say, just snap out of it. Just snap out of it. Why are you so depressed? Why do you have anxiety? Why are you feeling this way? And it's not about just snapping out of it. It takes far more study of what is going on. What are the things that are going on in your life? What are you eating? What is your environment like? What are your friends like? And really looking at everything, because it really is a whole body experience that we have to look at. It can't just be one thing. And that's what's really important, is really to look at everything. And as you're talking about the kids in your school, I have to wonder if many of them are dealing with PTSD issues. That was the hardest thing for my sister. Was she was in a really bad car accident senior year of high school, and the car flipped over. She was taken out with jaws of life. She spent many, many weeks in the hospital, and then a long time rehabilitating. And she ended up having chronic health conditions where her back was always in pain, her neck was in pain, her legs were in pain. So she was medicating. And so when you're dealing with mental health and you're dealing with physical conditions, and they say it's like co-occurrences, you self-medicate, or you medicate, based on what the doctors are giving you. And then you end up just getting out of control. And that's what tends to happen, is that they spiral, when you're taking so many meds, you get addicted and you spiral out of control, and there's just nowhere to go from there. And I think that that's the hardest part of all, is, just identifying it. And especially now we're dealing with the opioid crisis. And what's great about today is that so many people are talking about mental health versus 20 years ago. Nobody was talking about it. At least we're dealing with the opioids. At least we're talking about mental health awareness and overcoming that stigma. And I'm so happy that that school district did it. And I think that should be a across the country, ruling of, mental health days are okay, because we all need them, whether it's at school or at work.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm thinking about this, Kim, this national discussion had to happen. I mean, we got too many things going on in our society, within our schools, etc. I mean, it had to happen, this national discussion. And people say, well, you can't see it like a broken leg, or something like that. But the thing is, if you know what signs to look for, you can see it. We just haven't been trained to see it. And from reading your book, I saw that there was like a national program out there for caregivers, teachers, coaches, ministers, whoever. It was like, I don't know if it was like an 8-hour program. So that we can see those signs just as clearly as we see a broken leg or something like that. But I've never even heard of that program before. I've been a teacher for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's called Mental Health First Aid, and actually Lady Gaga has been supportive of it, and she's trying to get mental health first aid across the whole country. And so, yes, it should be police officers, fire departments, teachers, caregivers, so that you can see the signs, so that you can see what's going on. And it really is, it clarifies what you're seeing, and so many people need to take it. We offer it in Connecticut through a variety of different resources, and we're always encouraging people to take it because it really gives you that leg up on what to look for, particularly in the classroom. And so if there's a way that you can get it into your school system, that would be phenomenal.
I think every school system should have it. So I think I'm going to try to bring it up to my administrator when I go back. Because like I said, I've been a 20 plus years teacher. I never even heard of it. And
Yeah.
we're dealing with kids that are hurting, and whether it's a kid, whether it's an adult, the older I get, Kim, the more I realize that people are hurting everywhere. And
Yeah.
and everyone's trying to keep it to themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They don't want to bother people.
exactly. And
And
it really,
you
it's
just want to
sad.
reach out and grab somebody and hug somebody and share your pain with them, hoping things will get better. But you don't. You kind of just clamor up and you just kind of like, isolate yourself. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And that's what happened to Kelly is she didn't want anyone to feel like she was a burden. So she kind of hid everything. When she moved to Arizona, she kind of became a recluse, only really talked to her neighbor, went to doctor's appointments. She kind of had the system beat because that was before electronic health records. So she would go to doctor to doctor to doctor and pharmacy to pharmacy and pharmacy, and they weren't comparing notes. And so then she's, collecting this assortment of medication and then taking them based on her own direction rather than what the doctors were actually recommending. And then on top of that, getting street drugs. So, she really spiraled out of control, and it, I took this opportunity to share her story, and it's raw and it's authentic and it's real. And I'm sure you went up and down emotionally during the book because, and that's what I'm hearing is that it's an approach on mental health in a very different way than most people have read about it because it's from a sister's perspective. And what I did was I dug deep and I found her journals and her notes and put them all together and was able to kind of create a timeline of her life and the things that she was going through based on the things that I collected from her apartment. So it really enabled me to tell that story. And not only the documentation that I found, I believe that spiritually she connected with me in a profound way. And before she died, I was not a spiritual person.
Yeah.
After she died, I totally transformed and I started to believe.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, this cause of mental health, I think it found the right person. Kim, you have been so successful. And then this tragedy happens in your life of your sister who kind of isolated herself over in Arizona, was self-medicating herself like so many people do because the mental health system, the care is not adequate, the funding, and people try to keep it themselves because the national discussion's not there yet. But I mean, this strikes at the heart of your family, and you walk away from everything like a multi-million-dollar business. You walk away from a marriage and you devote a marriage that you were struggling in, and you just fully devote yourself to this new path. Must have been scary as heck. I don't know if that happened overnight, if it was some kind of revelation, something that slowly built. But all in all, I mean, this cause picked the right person because now you're like on all the boards and you're starting this national discussion. You're going to keep it going. You're making a huge difference. But could you kind of bring us back to those early days when you were, told about Kelly's demise and just everything in your life changed?
Yeah, so she died on February 11th, February 14th of 2011, and that was Valentine's Day. And, you know, when we got that call, it was devastating. I mean, it was interesting because one of the quotes I put in the book was from my mother, and she had said, you know, she was always hanging on by her fingernails. And so we just never knew when those fingernails would break and she wouldn't be here anymore. And with that became a lot of acceptance of that the girl that we knew, that we grew up with, the girl, you know, the softball player, the girl that everybody loved with the long blonde hair that looked like Daryl Hannah, she was different. And she, you know, she changed. And so the girl we knew was no longer there. So after I got that call, and then I kind of went back to work, and, you know, a few weeks later, and I had to really reflect on where my life was going and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I knew I was not happy. I was crying in my pillow every night. I was running a, you know, $4.5 million advertising marketing business, 2 kids, running around with, you know, multiple boards of directors, trying to get them everywhere.
Yeah.
And after
overachiever.
Yes, overachiever, as always.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had to stop. And so I resigned from my boards of directors. I stayed on one. And then I asked for a leave of absence from my business and asked my husband at the time and said, look, I can't do this anymore. I need to take a little break for myself. At that point, I was thinking, oh, you know, I was starting I had a blog started. I could start work on my blog. Maybe I'll write a book, or, you know, at that point, it was just kind of like pie in the sky because that was like 9 years ago.
Did you know where this was going to end up, or was this something that just slowly developed?
Yeah, no idea. I had started a blog in January of 2011, a month before she had passed, and just was writing about life, and you know, because I've always been a journalist, so it just felt good for me to write. And as I was writing things, and actually that's where I kind of announced that Kelly had passed away. And people started coming up to me and saying, you should use your blog content as a book. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And so it just kind of started to grow. I had always said I wanted to publish a book by the time I was 50. I made that declaration when I was a kid. I turned 50 on the year I was 50 when my book published.
Why am I not surprised?
I know, right? I just turned 50.
Overachiever.
Yes. So when I had to ask for that leave of absence, I took about 6 months away from the business, and Paul, my ex-husband at that time, my husband at the time, had asked me, you know, are you going to come back? And I said, no, I don't think so. I said, I don't want to torture myself anymore. It was hard running a business, you know, and we were a big business. We were not big. We were a small business, but a big business for us. You know, we had grown from 1 person to 24 people, and you know, and so, and I said, no, I'm going to start all over again, and asked for a divorce. Learned how to become a co-parent. And really started with a blank canvas. At that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. Was I going to do consulting? Was I going to get another job? I ended up working at a community college for a little while, kind of tried that out and tried a couple of things out. And then went, you know, and then decided that I was going to create this marketing business. And it's been phenomenal. I've been able to work with clients that I love, and then at the same time make room for my mental health work. And I actually have done work like for Inner Community in East Hartford, Connecticut, where I helped them publish a book on their 50th anniversary. So there's, you know, so I got to tell people stories of recovery and hope, and it just was so meaningful for me to share other people's stories. And ultimately what I want to do with this book, I'm already thinking about part 2, of course, is now that I've told our story and our tale through the mental health journey, I want to start to tell other people's tales and stories, because people are reaching out to me, they're sharing, they're telling me the things they've been through. People are calling me, texting me, how can you hook me up to, you know, a psychologist or a psychiatrist or, you know, resource groups. So people are looking to me as a source, and I hope to continue to do that.
I don't see any shortage of material out there for people that can be part of that. Like you said, 1 in 5. So look around. If you got more than 5 people around you, which
Yep.
we all do, you know, somebody's hurting. You know what I'm saying? And we need to
Exactly.
be more open, more clear about that. I mean, we need this national discussion. And myself as a teacher, Kim, which you know, I mean, I get people sometimes that ask me, they're like, are you going to stay in the field of teaching because of all the violence and the school shootings and all that? Aren't you scared? Well, you know, how do you go to work every day? And for me, I'm like, it's just something I have to do. You know, I have to
Right.
go to work every day because I know I'm needed there. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm needed. So, but it bothers me. I can't say it doesn't. You know, it bothers me what's going on with the mental health and the school shootings. And I know you had said before, you know, let's not point the finger at any one person. You know, let's collectively make this better. And
Right.
can you share some of that collective solution that you have about
Yeah.
trying to make things better in school with like the school shootings, which should not be happening, but they are. So what
No.
do we do?
No. Yeah, exactly. And it's, obviously addressing the school situation and being better prepared on the ground, and making sure that there's proper things in place at the school systems, whether it's either metal detectors or, surveying and spot checking and all those kinds of things. But also, like you said earlier, is giving kids an outlet to share when they're feeling down, when they're feeling low, and giving them. There's a lot that's happening now online where there's actually a company where they actually coach kids from their dorm rooms so that they get on video chats like we're kind of doing right here,
Yep.
and they actually help them make those transitions, because we find that those transition years tend to be the most difficult, whether you're going from middle school to high school or from high school to college or technical school or whatever it is. Those transition years seem to be the most difficult because anxiety builds up and
Mhm.
depression and suicidal ideation. And so that we need to have resources for our kids to talk to. And so there's
Agree.
all new kinds of strategies. And it doesn't just have to be talk therapy. We can look at art therapy and yoga and gardening and sports or whatever it is that that person loves. It's finding a purpose in life. And you find that when people don't truly have a purpose or don't feel like part of something, that's where those kind of ideations begin. The other thing is social media. And it's
Mm.
funny, I was just
Yep.
talking to my boyfriend this morning who runs a suicide awareness, suicide prevention and mental health awareness organization. And we were talking about, why is suicide so prevalent right now? And he was talking to a researcher recently, and they were saying social media is a huge piece of that. And how do we grasp onto that and talk to our kids to make them realize that they can't take it so much to heart, that what people are
Mm.
saying and what people are doing, and it's just creating this unease factor amongst our young people, because they're
Yeah.
seeing people go to parties that they weren't invited to, or
Yeah.
this person says this about another person. And how do we fix that? It's so huge and so monumental, but there's got to be strategies that we can put into place to really address that, whether it's, you know, being more education focused on what social media truly is, or you
Mm.
can't really take it personally. I don't know how we drill into it, but it's a massive problem.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, that social media is sort of like a fake front. You know, everybody puts that social pressure on you of them at their best moments, you know, and
Exactly.
nothing else. No medium moments, no terrible moments. And we need like to educate our youth and even the adults about that, because it's putting a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on people, you know. And then something else I just thought of, Kim, is my youngest daughter, she's 8 years old. And every now and then my boy, he's 15, he's a freshman in high school. Every now and then he'll do something to my youngest daughter. And then she'll get that mopey, sad face. And she'll be like
Yeah.
walking around all angry, arms crossed, you know, and she'll be like, he hurt my feelings. So then I'll go to my boy and I'll say, hey, you need to say sorry for hurting your sister's feelings. It's the right thing to do. And he'd be like, I didn't do anything. It doesn't matter. She thinks you hurt her feelings. So you say something like, listen, I didn't mean to do it, but I'm sorry that whatever I did hurt your feelings. I didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident, this sort of things. And then I look at my little girl and I say, and you got to find a way where your feelings don't get hurt so easily. She's like, well, he did it. I said,
Yeah.
you let him do it. You let him do it. You have some control over your feelings.
Right.
You have some.
Right.
You have some. So don't let him hurt your feelings so easily, or just say something, to have a conversation about it instead of crossing your arms and kicking your foot on the ground or, whatever. And you hurt my feelings, and being all mad. And when I come and talk to you, you give me the silent treatment. I'm like, you have some control over your feelings and your thoughts, and you got to think this out, control your thoughts a little bit, control your feelings a little bit, and have a conversation. Let them know, listen, it might have been an accident, but what you just did hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? And if more of our kids would do that, less of our kids would obviously be bringing guns to school. Which breaks my heart.
Right, because they're not harboring. They're not harboring that resentment. Instead, they're actually dealing with it in the moment. And I think that's what we need to do as a society is we need to deal with our feelings in the moment. Because a lot of us just kind of bury them and then they build up and then that's where you kind of have that big explosion. And there's so many strategies. And I'm so happy that school systems are really starting to be aware that we've got to approach this smart and strategically and consistently. It can't be, let's just start and implement a program because we have budget funding now, and then next year it might go away. It's got to be part, mental health has to be part of the overall structure in our school systems, and it has to start early. I mean, it can't just be at high school. It can't be just at middle school. It's got to start with our little ones and really dealing with what they're going through. Mental Health America has a phenomenal screening tool, and it's Mental Health America, I believe, .net, and they have screening tools where anybody can go on and you can take a test, a screening test, and it will determine for you, are you, leaning towards bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or anxiety, and what those assessments were finding, this is last year, was that many kids between the ages of, I think it was 6 and 17, are identifying with panic attacks. And so that we know we have to start earlier, that we can't just focus on the college kids or the high school kids. We've got to start at these younger ages because they're seeing things that we never saw. They're living in situations that are far more complex than we ever had as kids. I can't even imagine what our lives would have been like with social media the way that it is today, and just the general mood of the country, I think, is affecting people. It's so divisive, nobody knows where to be, looking at what's
arguing, everybody's mad,
Yes.
Let me ask you this, Kim. So, I know, your sister Kelly, she went to Arizona to kind of isolate herself. She didn't say she was doing that. I mean, there were days when I just feel so overwhelmed about all the different things coming at me from a million different directions that I'm like, I just want to be alone. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I don't want to make any phone calls. I don't want to do anything. I just need to be alone. So I was thinking about, how that might be like a semi-tiny isolation. And none of that isolation stuff is really good for us. So what would you tell a young person or maybe any person that was feeling on somewhere on the spectrum of today, I just not feeling it and I just want to be alone? I mean, what would you tell someone like that to do?
I think it's okay to take those pauses in life. I think it's okay to do that and realize that we need those pauses in life. But when those pauses become days and weeks and months, we really have to rely on others to help get us through that, and sometimes, and it's not necessarily the person who's in it, it's the people who are around them that need to ask the right questions, that need to let those individuals know that I'm here for you. I care about you. And so, there's people that I've seen on Facebook where they say, I just shouldn't even be here, or, that my life is awful, I don't even want, and you realize that they're really hurting, and they just need somebody to reach out to say, I
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
care about you. I
Yeah.
care about what you do, and I care about what you feel. And sometimes it's just asking that question that makes all the difference in the world. And then trying to align them with things that they can feel good about, whether it's going out for a hike, or, coloring a coloring book, that
Yeah.
for
Shooting
me
a
is
few
like very
baskets. Right?
cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting a few
It's little
baskets. Well, Kim, I want you to know that I care about you. and
things,
And I
and
know we're going to be wrapping up the show in a moment. Myrna's going to be coming on to close out the show. But like,
okay.
what question did I not get to? Like to ask you something, maybe something that you're going to be doing soon, or something I should have asked you that I just didn't get to. What do you think?
Well,
How do you want to close this out?
I just want to say that, even though we all go through loss, right? We all deal with loss, that we can overcome it, because as human beings, we are resilient. We go through divorce, we lose jobs, we lose friends, we lose people in our lives, but it really is about putting yourself on that transformational journey, and knowing that you can get to the other side of loss, and knowing that you can take that loss and do
Yeah.
great things. And that's really what I have been able to do, was I've been able to kind of take that loss and become that mental health champion, write a book. And, my goal is to maybe someday do, major speaking gigs, and, who knows what, but the sky is the limit, and
Yeah.
sharing my story, sharing my sister's story, and hoping people know that recovery is possible. It doesn't have to end the way that my sister did. It just, there are other alternatives to, being up in heaven, and doing great things for those who need it.
Yeah. So I've always said, Kim, when you're at the end of your rope, like make a knot and hang on. Right?
Yeah, that's that's good. I like that.
Hey, feel free to use it in your next speech.
I might use it. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, go ahead. I stole it from someone. I have no idea who.
That's the best thing, is you got to get all these good lines, right?
Yes,
The good
exactly.
one-liners.
Yep. Myrna, welcome back.
Guys, thank you. I have certainly enjoyed your conversation, and it makes me smile how we, for the past couple of weeks, I understand, or I kind of feel that we end up pretty much at the same note, which is vulnerability. It's okay. Stop shaming anger, stop
Yeah.
shaming pain, stop shaming sadness. We are in a society that we overqualify being happy and being the happy camper and being the person that nothing happens, and start realizing that yes, things are
Yep.
happening, it's normal, you can show it, you can
Feel
other people can know that you are not going
it.
through the happiest valleys. So
Exactly.
thank you for
Exactly.
allowing the Mindalia TV cameras, or being a channel for your ideas, for your knowledge, for your time. To our audience also, thank you. But before we leave, we want to ask you, Kim, where can our audience find you?
I just launched my website last night, www.splitendstail.com, and it's SPLITENDZ tail.com. So find me there, check out the book. I put the prologue online, and then you can buy the book on Amazon.
Thank you. Mr. Blanchard, where can our audience find you?
Absolutely.
Besides
Thank
here,
you,
of
Myrna.
course.
You can find me at danblanchard.net, granddaddysecrets.com, all over social media. I'm pretty much on all the social media channels. Amazon, check out my books. And of course, I'm Mindalia TV.
Woohoo! And again, we are not glorifying being sad or being on a bad moment, but we shouldn't also glorify happiness. Happiness is a journey, and it's a day-to-day thing. let's bring out whatever is bothering us, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
again. We want to send you a very big hug, to our audience for being with us, for liking, for subscribing, for checking our Portuguese channel, for checking our Spanish channel. Thank you again, and until next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.